Warning, the following audio transmission will forever change your outlook on society. You will no longer believe the narrative. You are about to wake up and see things for what they really are. News, facts, and opinions. This is the Doom Daily Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Doom Daily Show. I am your host, Jester Dooms. The email, doomdailyshow@gmail.com. The website, www.jestersvoice.com. Everywhere on social media, at Jester Dooms. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the show. Leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening. And don't forget, you can send us an audio message on the website. It's fantastic. Happy fucking Thursday. Happy Thursday to everybody out there. We're one more day closer to the weekend. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what you're currently doing. If you're up having your coffee, if you are, I'm having a cup of coffee with you. I'm having a delicious cup of Lavazza espresso. It's so for those of you that don't know, Lavazza is my favorite coffee. At least here in the States. Overseas, it's just as good. But here in the States, for sure, it's Lavazza. And I try to buy the shit when it's on discount because it's kind of pricey when you're buying it at regular price. But I found it's the only coffee that does not jack with my stomach. Low acidity, no heartburn. It just works perfect. And I take my Lavazza two different ways. Okay. Way one is just black. I make it in an espresso maker on the stovetop. I have it black, very simple, very easy, very reliant. You know, shit hits the fan, the power goes out. I could make that over a fire if I need to because it percolates the coffee. The other way I like to take my coffee, my Lavazza, is with goat's milk and honey. Okay, that's my jam, the goat's milk and the honey. I don't get into the fancy flavored coffee creamers. I don't get into the regular milk and sugar. I don't do the sweet and low. I don't do these things. After you have had honey in your coffee with goat's milk, and you've done that once, everything else to me feels subpar. I buy creamer at the grocery store. It tastes like artificial sweeteners. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's like peppermint, whatever, or cookie dough, whatever. It doesn't. Hazel's nut. It doesn't matter. But the goat's milk and the honey is like the perfect combination. Or just give it to me black. And that's what I'm currently drinking right now is black Lavazza. So I hope your morning coffee is just as fantastic as mine. I hope that your day goes swimmingly. I hope the kids didn't give you any grief this morning getting on the bus. I hope that your lazy, good-for-nothing spouse actually does something while you're, running around doing everything. Because listen, let's be honest here, okay? If you're listening to this show, you obviously attract some pretty questionable people, and your spouse probably sucks. I'm just saying. It's pretty blatantly obvious. Anyway, so... So my day yesterday was relatively good. Like I said, the contractor came out, he hit the property with a transit, and to my shock and my surprise, I did everything with a 20,000-pound excavator by eyeball during the pandemic. He hits it with the transit. He says, we're going to have to do a little bit of grading, get it perfectly level. I said, what are we talking? He said, dude, you're within inches. I said, how many inches? He's like 1 or 2, in some spots 3. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah. I was like, dude, I eyeballed all that. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah. He's like, huh, that's pretty good. And so to my surprise, when I'm hearing, oh yeah, this spot's low about 1 inch, that one over there's 2. We've got one spot here, it needs to come up about 3 inches. I'm like, over a span of 50 foot wide by 40 feet deep, I'm just off in a couple of places by inches. And then I want you to think about this too. This was back during the pandemic. So you've got 5 years of settling, shifting soil, erosion, water, rain. I think I did a pretty good job for not knowing what the fuck I was doing. So after said contractor left or whatever, we had to go out to the farm supply store, get some goat food, tried on some overalls. Maybe I ordered some on the eBay, maybe you'll see me on the TikTok in some overalls doing some videos. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Stopped by Chick-fil-A, had some dinner there. Came home, helped one of the boys with some homework, and spent a little bit of quality time with the wife, and that's it. Jumped on the TikTok to the live. It was great. You should have been there if you weren't. I'm trying to do as many lives as I can throughout the month of October. That's drastically going to slow down in the month of November, I can tell you now. But on those late nights where you don't have anything going on and you're bored and you're just wanting to shoot the shit, it's always great to pop into the TikTok and come in there and shoot the shit with me. Okay, I just hang out, I talk to you guys, I talk smack, we'll tell stories. I mean, that's it. I don't typically let other people come up in the lives for a few different reasons. One, I've worked to build a following there. I've had that account shut down before, and I'm not going to have it happen again because somebody else wants to do something stupid within my live for me to catch a live ban. Not gonna do it. Okay, that's just all it is. The other thing is I find a lot of people only bring chaos to the table. Like, there's noise in the background, it's staticky, we can't jam out to the music I got playing. There are certain people I don't mind popping in, but I'm more receptive to go live with other people over on the Clapper app. I'm more acceptable of that because I could do whatever I want on Clapper and I'm not going to catch, I'm not going to get banned over there. As long as I don't pull my wiener out, I'm fine. And I very rarely pull my wiener out unless, of course, producer Scooter requests it. Then, you might see a little bit of foreskin flapping in the wind. Outside of that, though, Clapper is a great app to do what you want and not get shut down. As far as growth and interaction, it's a very slow go. I've got over 50,000 followers there. I'll put out a video. It'll get 10,000 views and no comments. Ton of likes, no comments. It's a very non-interactive platform, if that makes sense. Anyway, we'll be right back after these messages.
Can't get enough of Jester Dooms? Check out his other show, It's Doomsday Podcast, available on all podcast platforms. That's It's Doomsday Podcast.
Back to the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Doom Daily Show. I am your host, Jester Dooms. The email, doomdailyShow@gmail.com. Everywhere on social media at Jester_Dooms. Yeah, the website, www.jestersvoice.com. Also, feel free to jump on the website, www.jestersvoice.com. Leave me an audio message there at the top of the screen. Okay, so on the Epic Times, by Lawrence Wilson, Trump unveils new healthcare affordability plan. Now, I got to tell you, I got screwed when Obamacare first launched. Me and my wife got really fucked over with trying to do this Affordable Care Act plan shit. I had really good healthcare coverage, and then we got screwed. So, moving forward, President Donald Trump on January 15th released his administration's new healthcare affordability plan, which aims to lower prices through marketplace reforms that include price negotiation, increased competition, and greater price transparency. Trump's great healthcare plan includes actions the administration had already introduced or is working to implement if confided in federal law, rather than being enforced through executive orders and federal regulations. The provisions are expected to carry greater weight and be more likely to last through future administrations. In quotations, instead of putting the needs of big corporations and special interests first, our plan finally puts you first and puts more money in your pocket, Trump said in a video announcement. He called on Congress to pass the healthcare plan. Reducing drug prescription drug prices. The Trump administration has so far negotiated reduced drug prices for Medicaid patients with 15 pharmaceutical manufacturers through Trump's most favored national prescription drug pricing plan. The plan calls for pharmaceutical manufacturers to offer their lowest price on drugs to Medicaid customers, as well as to some drugs directly to U.S. patients at lower prices, introduce any new medications into the U.S. market at the lowest available price, and reinvest revenue realized from higher drug prices in other developed nations into the U.S. economy. The policy is aimed at leveling prices between the United States and other developed nations, which have long enjoyed a price advantage over the United States.
Dr. Mehmet Oz administration on the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services said the lower drug prices will save Americans far more than the cost of prescription. Okay, so I want to talk to you guys about a story that took place with me this past year in Greece. So I got a bad rash in Greece last year. My whole body was broke out and like little welts that were almost like pimples, like all over my body. Like they were like, some of them were oozing and popping. Some of them were dry and itchy. It was really nasty. This is not the first time that that's happened to me over there. So I didn't have to go to the emergency room. I didn't have to go to the doctor. I didn't have to sit in a waiting room. I didn't have to do anything. You know what I did? I walked into the pharmacy there. The pharmacy technician looked at me and she goes, "Oh, I know exactly what that is. You have this. Come over here. You need this soap. You need this ointment. You need this sunscreen. Utilize these things. Also, here's an allergy pill. Take this." The whole process took less than 15 minutes, and the total amount of money spent in the pharmacy was about $50. The end. I was able to walk. It took me longer to walk to the pharmacy than to get seen and treated and sent on my way. The pharmacy was about a 1.5 mile walk from where I was at. So, like I said, it took longer to walk to the pharmacy from the beach to get treated and then go back to the beach and enjoy the rest of my day. And whenever you can walk into a pharmacy, get diagnosed, and prescribe something on the spot, it really tells you we have a lot wrong with our healthcare system in this country. But anyway, let's continue into this article. When you reduce obesity-related complications from hypertension and diabetes and the downstream effects of that, heart attacks and kidney failure, stroke, dementia, liver issues, you actually start saving enough money to justify more investments in new medications, Oz told reporters on January 15th. Trump is asking Congress to make the policy law with a grandfather clause for pre-existing deals made by the administration. The plan would also allow more medications that are proven to be safe to be dispensed without a prescription, reducing prices by increasing competition and avoiding the expense of consulting a doctor, which is what I didn't have to do when I was in Greece. I didn't have to consult a doctor. Direct payments to consumers. The Trump plan prioritizes making federal assistance in purchasing healthcare directly available to the consumer rather than channeling the funds through insurance companies, which is bullshit. There's how many companies out there that sell insurance plans? This contrasts with the Affordable Care Act, former President Barack Obama's healthcare law known as Obamacare, which operates by providing tax credits to consumers, which are paid directly to healthcare insurers. Republicans have argued that the practice is both inflationary and potential source for fraud. So I guess it means they can inflate that. Democrats have suggested making them permanent. End quotation. The president thinks this is far too narrow a view on what is aligning our healthcare system. That is why he is putting something out that is much broader on how to improve affordability for American patients, not just in Obamacare, a White House spokesman told reporters on January 15th. A plan to provide funded health savings accounts as an alternative to extending the Obamacare enhanced subsidies, which expire in December 2025, failed to advance in the Senate. So, guys, you can keep going through this article on the Epic Times. It goes on a little while longer there, but the healthcare system in this country is very broken. If you ever travel abroad and you see how things are operated in other countries, it's a lot more streamlined of a system. It is a lot more affordable. We have turned healthcare into an extremely profitable business here, and we shit on consumers. Okay. And this is going to continue to happen unless we start slamming on the brakes and we say, nope, we've had enough. No more. So I am all for the healthcare being revamped in this country. And something I mentioned in that article, like certain drugs not requiring a prescription anymore. You know, there are things that I think, obviously need prescriptions for, main one being narcotics. But when you look at things like you're sick, you're not well, you need amoxicillin. I don't think anybody is out there abusing amoxicillin. Okay. So, the reality is can't we have more of a streamlined system for that? Like you go into the pharmacy, they look at you and you say, listen, my ears have been hurting for a week. Like it's really bad. And they look and they say, oh yeah, you definitely have an ear infection. Here you go. Here's some amoxicillin. Like why do we need to go through all these extreme processes of doctors and everything else? Well, I'll tell you, because it all fucking makes money for them. That's why. They don't care about your health. They want to make a profit. The end. There is no more or less to the story. That is it. Okay. And it is every fucking side of medical services. Anyway, we'll be right back after these messages.
Jester from It's Doomsday Podcast and the Doom Daily Show here. Do you ever find yourself overloaded with way too much information? Too many logins, too many passwords, too many websites for stuff you like? Yeah, I'm the same way. You don't have to worry about that with the Doom Daily Show and It's Doomsday Podcast. Let's make it simple. Just visit linktree.com/JesterDooms. Add it to your bookmarks. That way, when you need to find the right information, it's right there, under a tap of your finger or a click of your mouse. Go to linktree.com/JesterDooms. Get it, got it, done. Remember, no one has all the answers, but this will provide you with a place to start. linktree.com/JesterDooms. And now, on with the conversation. And here's Jester.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Doom Daily Show. I am your host, Jester Dooms. The email, doomdailyshow@gmail.com. On the Epic Times, judge orders federal government to retain evidence related to Minnesota shooting. A federal judge late on January 24th ordered the Trump administration to retain all evidence related to the fatal shooting of Alex Jeffrey Petit during an altercation with Border Patrol agents in Minneapolis earlier that day. In his order, Judge Eric Toasterd, sorry, of the U.S. District of Court for the District of Minnesota wrote that the Department of Homeland Security, DHS officials and other federal agency officials are prohibited from destroying or altering evidence related to the fatal shooting, including but not limited to evidence that defendants and those working on their behalf removed from the scene and or evidence that defendants have taken into their exclusive custody. Toasterd's order granted the request from the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension in Hennepin County. Hennepin County. I think I'm saying that correctly. Prosecutors. Federal officials have alleged that Petit was wielding a gun before he was sprayed with a chemical irritant, pulled to the ground, and ultimately shot by a Border Patrol agent. Go back, watch the videos. The officers attempted to disarm the suspect, but the armed suspect violently resisted, DHS said in a statement. This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. Go back and watch the video. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison called it for an independent investigation into the incident. Federal agents are not above the law, and Alex Petit was certainly not beneath it. Ellison said in a statement, a full, impartial, and transparent investigation into this fatal shooting at the hands of DHS agents is non-negotiable. Ellison said the lawsuit was intended to bar the federal government from destroying or tampering with any evidence it has collected throughout the events related to the shooting. Justice will be done, he said. DHS Agent Secretary Tricia McLovin told the Epic Times in a statement, any claim that the federal government would destroy evidence is a ridiculous attempt to divide the American people and distract from the fact our own law enforcement officers were attacked and their lives were threatened yesterday. Watch the video. We are actively investigating this matter and will continue to do so as we do for any officer-involved shooting. DHS eagerly awaits any effort from Minnesota to help our officers arrest criminal aliens in the meantime. Toasterd wrote in his order that a hearing would be held at 2 p.m. local time on January 26th, which is today, in which the federal government will have a chance to raise any objections to the order, including whether it should remain in effect. Any written response or objections to the order must be filed by noon on January 26th, he said. Okay, first off, let me break this down for a second. This is, whether you look at this as homicide or whatever kind of crime you want to chalk this up to, this man is dead. Therefore, evidence involved in this incident should be held indefinitely for at least 99 years. That evidence should be held. Okay, now, also with that, let's not forget there are crooked motherfuckers out there. These federal agents, they poop, they drink, they've probably done drugs in the past. They're not all straight shooters. There could be corruption on some levels. So destroying evidence, could they do that? Yes. Could they get rid of evidence? Yes, they could, if they wanted to. I mean, if they were crooked, if their moral compass wasn't pointing due north, yes, they could. During an interview with Fox News on January 25th, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem asked about one video angle that appeared to show a federal agent removing a weapon from either Prateek's waistband or a holster, then walking away with the weapon before officers ultimately shot Prateek. This last name is killing me. Prateek. It appears that Alex Prateek was disarmed. Fox host Peter Dossie asked the secretary if he was disarmed, is it protocol to use deadly force? Noem responded that all video angles will be part of this investigation. They damn well fucking should be. Okay? Every video will be analyzed. Everything will be looked at. And that's part of the answers that I can speak to. Every single thing that those officers thought. But this happened in seconds, she said. They clearly feared for their lives and took action to defend themselves and the people around them. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara said on January 24th, we believe Prateek was a lawful gun owner with a permit to carry. And the protests are continuing. Protests continue after shooting. One day after the shooting, protests continued across Minnesota's Twin Cities and in other places nationwide, including Los Angeles, New York City, and Washington. Despite temperatures plummeting to minus 6 degrees Fahrenheit on January 25th, protests had coverage on the scene of the January 24th shooting in Minneapolis, with a crowd yelling at federal agents and telling them to go home. Some pulled garbage cans from alleys, block streets, and other protesters chanted, observing immigration and customs enforcement. It's not a crime, and immigration and customs enforcement out now. Hundreds of people also visited a makeshift memorial for Prateek and the location of the shooting. The Virginia-based nonprofit International Association of Chiefs of Police issued a statement on January 25th calling for the White House to convey federal, state, and local law enforcement leaders for policy-level discussion aimed at identifying a constructive path forward following the events in Minnesota. Periods of heightened tension place significant strain on public safety systems and underscore the need for stability, professionalism, and respect for constitutional principles, the statement reads. Guys, it's again, I'm not going to continue any more into this. It's again, these guys are poking the bear, and the bear's going to poke back. I am glad I wasn't one of these guys on scene. I am glad I wasn't involved in this, because I'm telling you what, I think these guys in particular with this shooting, I think they're going to get into some shit. I think these particular officers are going to go down. And I think that they're also going to have to make an example of these guys just due to the nationwide outcry. I think they're going to have to. But despite that, I mean, despite all that, I mean, could you put yourself in this guy's shoes? You're covered in OC. There's OC everywhere. You can't see shit. Someone says gun. All you could see is a suspect, and you shoot. I mean, yeah. And if you get away with that, you have to live with that. That's a moral dilemma that I couldn't handle that. That'd be horrible to live with. But one of these guys is going to have to live with that. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen to today's episode of the Doom Daily Show. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on all the social media platforms everywhere out there. Make sure you're following and you have notifications turned on. All right, Producer Scooter, if you would, hit that button, sir.
News, facts, and opinions. This is the Doom Daily Show.